time to get inspired and improve your yoga knowledge in English. You're listening to Your Yoga in English, a podcast for yogis and yoga teachers that speak English as their second or third language and want to practice or teach yoga worldwide. I'm Annie, the founder of Enga Unite, and here to guide you on the way to become the confident and knowledgeable English-speaking yogi you want to be. And today we're speaking to Adriana Kyser, and you might know her because of her yoga teaching, her wellness coaching, and we'd like to know a little bit more about you. So maybe you can introduce yourself.
Hi, everybody. Thanks so much for having me. Yes, I was born and raised in Caracas, Venezuela, where I lived for 20 years or so. I went to law school there, but I moved to the US so I didn't finish law school. But the interesting part about that is that I always wanted to make a positive difference in people's life. And I thought for me that meant going to law school, being the voice for the voiceless, wanting to make things right, pull for the underdog, etc. But I used to suffer from chronic pain for over a decade. And during my childhood and teenage years, my mom always introduced holistic wellness to us. But like many of us when we're kids, we don't want to do what our parents do, right? So she took me to yoga classes, and I thought it was the weirdest thing. She did Ayurveda, she had crystals, she had all this stuff, and I will be like, oh my gosh, rolling my eyes, like my mom is such a weirdo, like she's a hippie and stuff. And there you are. Here I am, doing the same things that she was doing back then. But my journey started trying to heal myself from the inside out. So I stepped on a yoga mat to really find relief from back pain, because I had tried all the conventional treatments just to get temporary results. So through yoga, I started to kind of do my personal development and started to realize the importance on how connected the mind, body, and emotions are. Mm-hmm. So in that moment, I started to do more work on myself, and not only on the physical aspect, but the emotional and mental aspect, even the spiritual aspect, which helped me become pain-free. It helped me deal with past emotional pain that I was holding, that was bearing within, like I put it out of my mind. I just shoved it deep inside, and I didn't realize all the toll that it took in my body. But something I want to make sure I mention to you guys, because I know you're working with yoga teachers that not necessarily are native speaking English, right? Mm-hmm. When I moved to the US, I was singled out. I was profiled by the way I looked. I experienced racist remarks. And I even remember being called like a stupid, ignorant immigrant. That person didn't know that I had gone to law school, that I speak multiple languages, right? It saw me as an immigrant and just put me in a box. Mm-hmm. And that led me to not speak in public for months. I was so self-conscious. I felt so little, so inadequate, that all I wanted to do was hide. I would go to a restaurant with my husband and I will say, order this and this for me, because I didn't want to speak. But I remember one day I woke up and I was in so much pain, not just physical pain, but also this pain of like, no longer being who I was. Like I was dimming my light so much. Mm-hmm. And I realized that pain was 10 times worse than the pain of being judged by people that didn't even know me anyways. So when I first started my teacher training, I did it just for me to learn how to teach myself yoga. Like I never meant to, in my mind, I never thought I was going to be teaching yoga in English in front of people, right? Mm-hmm. But I call it divine intervention, and something happened. I got offered a job before I finished teacher training, and one thing led to the next, and I ended up teaching yoga in English, because all my trainings have been in English, and I've been able to travel the world teaching yoga and wellness, and it's been incredible. So don't let the language barrier, don't let other people ideas of what you should do or shouldn't do, or how you sound like or look like, hold you back from truly doing what you're meant to be doing.
Wow. I completely agree. And it's really inspiring. Thank you so much for sharing that story. Because normally we ask people, what is your fear, or what do you do when you make a mistake? And it really is something simple. But often those fears come from things that are way deeper. And I think a lot of people will be able to recognize themselves in that. So thank you.
You're welcome. Yes. And something that I mentioned, I'm very honest. I want to share my stories so people can really feel inspired. And many of them may see themselves how I was back then. When growing up, I was bullied as a child. I was told I wasn't good enough. So I grew up with this mentality, like trying to prove myself, wanting to try harder, push myself harder, hold myself to unrealistic standards, because all I could hear in the background is, you're not good enough. You're not good enough. And it didn't matter how much success I have achieved in my life. It didn't matter that I have been traveling the world teaching yoga, that I did international retreats, or I have a wonderful family, or that I built a successful career. All I could hear was, you're not good enough. You're not good enough. So that's why I was mentioning, like, yoga was like my first stepping stone towards holistic wellness for me as a student. And then obviously I became a teacher as well. But during this process of me teaching and being a student at the same time, I never stopped doing my personal development growth, which that helped me change the narrative of the story of, like, you're not good enough, in trying to prove to others I was good enough, to realizing, oh my gosh, look at everything I have accomplished. And not from me like, oh, look at me, I'm so great, but from a feeling of like, wow, look back, you've done this much, you have grown so much, and remember when you didn't think you were good enough to teach yoga, because I also heard that. I remember somebody telling me, you're not good enough to teach yoga.
Wow.
So yeah.
And who were these people saying that to you?
One instance, one of the many instances that I remember is me, this person walks into a room and tells the group of us in our training program that there's an opportunity to teach yoga at this incredible facility, and to ask this person for more information if we were interested. So I'm playing in my head, you don't speak English very well. It's your second language. Are you sure you want to stand in front of people? You're going to get judged. All these fears from the past were very present. But somehow I gathered all the strength I had, and I asked this person for more information. And this person goes like, oh no, this is not for you. This is someone for more like so and so and so. So right there, it's like, oh my gosh, you're not good enough. If this person thought that some of the people of the group were not ready to teach, then it shouldn't have been announced to the entire group. It should have been approached to, here, this is an opportunity for you, if you're interested, or for you, instead of saying, hey, contact me if you're interested, and then shutting people down if we were not ready. So hearing those scenes reinforce, again, the patterns that I had heard as a child. And thankfully, today I'm grateful for that person, because even though I cried for like 3 days and I was like, I'm going to quit, this is not for me. But then part of me is like, I've never been a quitter. But at the same time, I was like, let me show you. Oh yeah.
Very good.
And that led me to really find the best international teachers out there, like Shiva Ray. She's a friend and a mentor. I studied with her since 2006 till today. I'm one of her senior teachers. So I have amazing teachers to really help me rise and become a best teacher I can be for myself. So for people out there that feel insecure and worry and doubt about what happens if I make a mistake, if I'm teaching, or what happens if people don't like my classes, it's okay. Those are not your people. If you make a mistake, who cares? I still make a mistake. I've been teaching for 16 years and I still say left or right or leg and arm, or, we all make mistakes, and it's okay.
Everyone, exactly. And what do you do when you make a mistake? Do you tell them? Do you excuse yourself? What's a good trick, or what's something you use?
Sometimes I say, oh, I'm sorry. Sometimes it's like, depends. If I make a lot of mistakes in class, and be like, hey guys, because there have been times where I'm doing teacher trainings and teaching, and like we get fatigued, right? So there's times I say, hey guys, today my brain and my tongue are not communicating. I'm sorry. And I make it
I love
fun.
that.
I laugh about it.
Exactly.
I remember when I went to China to teach a teacher training there.
Mm-hmm.
I had to teach with a translator because obviously I don't speak Chinese. And this is something I had taught for many, many years. And right before I go to teach this, I get this like, you're not good enough. What is going to happen and all this stuff. So I just paused for a moment. I stood up tall, took a couple of deep breaths, and I put my hands on my hips. You know, like your body, your posture will also affect your feelings, right? So I put my hands on my hips, I took a breath. Yes. And I'd be like, you got this, it's okay. So I walk in, introduce myself, and then I kind of made a joke and I say, sorry guys, my Chinese is non-existent, but I'll do my best. Everybody was like, so just being yourself.
Absolutely.
So when you make a mistake, people really don't care if you don't make a big deal about it.
Mm-hmm. Very good.
And mispronunciations too. Again, English is my second language. So I mispronounce so many things, but now it's part of my charm. And yeah, so it's okay.
Exactly. That's a good point. You can always make it part of you. It's part of your personality and your charm. People will recognize you for it, which is a good thing, right? You want to stand out. And you said that yoga and mindfulness are just getting back to yourself and doing the work on yourself really helps to overcome the insecurity and your fears. Are there maybe some techniques specifically that you used?
Yes. So let's go deep in here. One of the things I had to do to change the narrative, like, because we have all this imposter syndrome, we have all these limiting beliefs, like I'm not good enough, or I don't have enough money, I cannot succeed, people don't love me, whatever the limiting beliefs is for a particular person. For me, they're not being good enough was because I started with my aunt bullying me, beating me up, and telling me you're not good enough, making fun of my physical appearance, calling me names. So once I recognized and realized that my physical chronic pain that was very tangible, it had roots in that emotional part, because I didn't grow up thinking I was abused. For me, I'm a victim. I just simply buried it. So when those memories came back to the surface, there was a time where I couldn't speak about the abuse without crying, without being angry, without having a very physical reaction. So the first thing I did was work on forgiveness. It wasn't easy, but forgiveness helped me break free from that emotional toll that event was taking. It was draining me. It was taking my health away. It was taking my confidence away. So working on forgiveness was the first thing I did. And once I realized that I had the power to change the narrative of my story, it gave me the freedom to become myself again. So one of the things I do is it's called clearing the canvas. It's part of my enlightened alchemy method. And enlightened alchemy means simply transformations of physical, mental, emotional aspects of yourself, so you can really begin to live a more meaningful, happier, healthier, purposeful life. So through the enlightened alchemy method, it's something I created based on my personal experience, based on 10 years of personal development and inner work, where I combine yoga, Pilates, NLP, which is neuro-linguistic programming techniques, crystals, essential oils, energy work. I do a lot of techniques which are energy work or spiritual tools. So when I work with clients, I work at the holistic level. I work mind, body, emotions, and spirit, because that's what worked for me. I wouldn't be where I am today if I only concentrated on the physical back pain. So I had to work in all the other aspects, right? So what I call clearing the canvas is a process of releasing, letting go of the negative patterns that are constantly running on subconscious mind, so you can cultivate positive mindset moving forward. The thing is that many of these unconscious patterns, you're not even aware that you're having them. It's like having multiple tabs open in your computer, but you're only working on one window. You cannot see the other tabs are open. You see them open, but you don't know what's happening in theirs, right? Mm-hmm. So the limiting belief, the more you think about a belief system, the more it becomes your reality, the more affects your biology, the more leads to either action or inaction, and affects how you feel as well, right? Your thoughts become your biology. So when you have a positive thought and you think about it over and over, it becomes a belief that makes it feel good and leads to specific actions. But the same happens with the negative thoughts. When you think a negative thought over and over, I'm not good enough, I don't have enough money, whatever it is, that becomes a belief. That belief makes you feel a certain way, and the way you feel will lead to action or inaction. So when clearing the canvas, what we do is give you the awareness, help you begin to become aware of what are some of the thoughts that you're having. Because with awareness, you cannot change something. You cannot change something you don't know that is changing, right? So awareness is number one. So I will help you become aware of some of those patterns, limiting beliefs that run in the background. So then you can take the steps necessary to change the narrative of the story. So I created a workbook called From Limited to Limitless. Find Your Bliss Place book, and it's free. I will give you the link so anybody listening can download it. Is something I created for my clients, and they love it so much that it's simple. There are questions in there to help you become aware, or what are some of the limiting beliefs you have, and then it's up to you to decide, well, I'm aware of this. Am I going to change it, or am I going to keep it? Because a lot of people, I don't know about you, but I encountered a lot of people that want to change, but they don't want to do the work to change. They're married to the story. The identity is the story, right? Mm-hmm. So with this playbook that I created, you have simple questions that you answer, and then you decide, okay, now that I know this is going on, what are the steps I need to take to help me release these? And sometimes it's a combination of mind, body, emotion, and spirit. Sometimes it's working with a coach. Sometimes it's finding, whatever it is that you need, which I highly suggest getting support, because we're only going to get as far. We're always going to need somebody that is farther along the journey to guide us, right? So we always want to be surrounding ourselves with people that are going to challenge us to be better. Because if we surround ourselves with people that are doing less than us, or they're a little farther behind than us in their journey, we're not growing.
Mm-hmm, absolutely. Always surround yourself with someone that can inspire you as well.
Yes,
absolutely. It's something that was also a big part of my yoga teacher training. And the idea behind that was that you have to know yourself, you have to know where you come from, what your fears are, what's holding you back before you can actually teach. Because as a teacher, it's very easy to just fall back into the trap of I'm not good enough, like you said, or holding yourself back in different aspects. And you only can show up on the mat as a teacher as the way you are. So you need to be completely healed, is maybe a bit strong, but you need to know where you come from and understand what's going on in the body before you can.
You need to, one of the things, because I have led so many trainings, and so I've seen a lot of people come through teacher training, and many of them think that they need to have their life together. They think that they have to be able to do all these fancy poses in order to teach, and that's not true. What you need to have is the desire to be a teacher and to make a difference, and then figure out what it is that you're passionate about. Let me give you an example. I love kids, but do I want to teach kids yoga? No, that's not my passion. And I know people that love teaching kids yoga. So it's understanding that there are a million yoga teachers out there. There are a million doctors and lawyers and coaches, and there are a million of everything. But what makes them unique is their own experience, their own voices, their own reason as to why, their purpose. So you, as a yoga teacher, your job is not that you always have to be perfect and that you need to be the most zen and relaxed and doing all these amazing scenes. For you, your job is to show up as you are, because the people that need you will come to you. we can spot a fake a mile away. When we are trying to be someone that we're not, when we're trying to imitate someone else and speak like them and teach like them, you can see it and it's not authentic. So that's why when you make mistakes and when you have an accent, when you mispronounce, when you stitch a specific way, when you bring your personality into your classroom, that's what people are really gonna connect with. It's not about you being perfect. It's not about you having the most amount of students in a class. It's about you showing up authentically. Now, let me make sure you guys understand this. It's one thing to show up authentically, and another thing is to use the yoga room or the classroom for you to talk about your problems. The students want to come and hear your story about what's going on in your life, right?
No.
They have their own issues. They're coming there to move, to breathe consciously. So our job is to show up authentically, but also live our personal life outside the class.
I think it's good to share personal experiences, but definitely just keep it simple and basic. Don't go on to it too much.
Yeah, right. Personal experience, of course, we'll do that. But let's not talk about, I just broke up with my boyfriend. My boyfriend was cheated. Just stuff like that. Like, it's like, no.
You're a yoga teacher, and it's good to be approachable, but you still need to be professional.
Right. Absolutely.
Exactly. I would like to speak a little bit about English, or the language of yoga, and the language you use in all your professions, because I think it's very different to the language we speak in our daily life. How do you see this? What are your thoughts on that?
Well, do you mean like being bilingual, or the language of yoga, teaching yoga versus the way we speak on everyday life?
So it's more actually, as a native speaker, I think the language of yoga is also very different. And when I first started practicing yoga, I felt really unfamiliar with everything what was going on with the language that I knew so well. And I felt frustrated with myself, for example, to not be able to understand what was going on in the class, or not be able to follow the cues. Then when I started reading about it, there were so many new words and so many new expressions that I'd never seen before. And I feel like a lot of people have the same issue, but it's not something that you hear about a lot. It's not something that people speak about a lot. Was this the same for you, or what is your experience with this?
So I think depends on the teacher training that you're taking as well. My first teacher training program, definitely, it was a stepping stone. Like, I felt it had a lot of holes. It left me asking more questions than I had answers, But something that I experienced in the first teacher training, and then as a teacher leading teacher trainings, this is something I see, and I always try to tell people, is that you're going through so many things that your emotions are like a roller coaster. For me, I will be laughing 1 minute, and the next minute I was crying, the next minute I was angry, the next minute I was sad. And I thought I was going crazy, because that never, especially during my first teacher training, that never was brought up. That never was disclosed. We were never told, this is normal if you're experiencing this. So I make a point to tell everybody when they're going through my teacher training programs to let them know that it's completely normal. So now you're dealing with all this emotional stuff going on, because you're moving your body in ways that you didn't move your body before. You're opening channels of energy, right? You're working with the chakras, with the nadis. There's a lot of stuff happening at the physical level and at the energetic level that our conscious mind doesn't have the language to express or understand. So we're dealing with that one part. And then we also, again, depends on the teacher training program you take, their Sanskrit, their words in Sanskrit, like for the names, right? Then you're like, oh my gosh, now I'm also learning a whole different language. I'm a big advocate of learning the language, the Sanskrit, at least the names for the words, for the poses. I don't expect you to speak Sanskrit. I don't speak Sanskrit, but at least the name of the poses. Why? Because in that way, no matter where you are, even if you go to a class where, let's say, I don't speak German and I'm in Germany and I go and take a class, I'm not going to understand anything. But if they're calling the names in Sanskrit, I know exactly what those poses are, and then I can do it, right? So when we're talking about the language of yoga versus the everyday language, yes, there are words, phrases, stuff that you're gonna learn that the more you start practicing, it's almost like I call it the process of embodiment. It's not something intellectual, it's something that you get, that you embody, like you get it at a deeper level, like you get it in a deep sense of inner knowing, you're getting in your physical body. It's almost like a language that's unspoken, but that only begins to happen once you realize that when you first start teacher training programs or start taking yoga classes as a student, doesn't matter if you're a teacher or not, that all these things are happening. What, like I said, you're moving your body like you never moved before. You're starting to open energy channels. You're starting to let emotions that you have buried come up to the surface. So there's all this stuff that you're like, am I going crazy? What are these changes? So once you realize that you're not crazy, that's normal, part of the process, you're able kind of to relax into this more. And then the knowledge that's coming in, like I was saying before, the embodiment or the language that the teachers are using, etc., is easier to understand it if you get out of here and connect more from here. So definitely there's a difference when we're talking about the language of yoga versus our everyday language. However, I can tell you, I've been teaching yoga for 16 years. And because since day one, I made the decision to be as authentic as I could be. The words I use and the way I spoke and speak today is also how I speak on a regular basis. So I'm no longer having like this is my yoga hat and this is how I speak for the next 60 minutes. And then this is the Adri. For me now, it's all one. So at the beginning, yeah, when you're learning to cue and learning to teach, especially if you're going to be inspired by the teachers that you're having, so you're going to see similarities, you're going to take some of those words, but you're also going to make it your own. And then your language teaching yoga is also interwoven with how you speak on your regular life.
Absolutely. And the fact of like preparing for teacher training, you said I got there and I was completely overwhelmed. I didn't know what was happening to me. I personally experienced it as well, and it actually made me quit yoga for about a year. I didn't want to do it anymore. I was not prepared for this. I thought that I kind of knew what to expect. But when I got there, it was just completely different, very overwhelming. Are there maybe certain techniques that people can use to prepare themselves for the training?
You know, again, that's why when, as a teacher, me teaching teacher trainees, that's the number one thing I tell them. You know, it's normal, because for me, it was overwhelming because I didn't know that other people were having the same experience. I thought it was me. And I was like, there's something wrong with me, because everybody, all my classmates, they seem like they're having a great time. And I'm the one here laughing and then crying, and, you know, not in public in front of them, but at home. So once I tell the students, this is normal, this is what you may experience, it gives them the sense of like, okay, so now I know that this may happen. And then telling them, if you're going through this, you can talk to me. Now, having that support system or finding your classmates to be your support system is fantastic. Speaking, talking about it. But the other thing is, getting yourself grounded. So like getting barefoot and standing on the grass or in the ground, on the earth out there, working with crystals, meditation, especially at the beginning. It's so hard to meditate, you know, so many people will dismiss it. I get it. But if you're studying the practice of yoga as a teacher or student or both, understanding that becoming overwhelmed it's part of the journey. It's almost like when you have a house that been, you know, abandoned for a while, and it's dusty and cobwebs are in and all this stuff, and you come in and you open the windows and the doors and you start to undust. All the dust creates this cloud of dust before it finally disappears, right? So that's what's happening with us when we step into our mat for the first time or for the first few months. We're cleaning our stuff up, and that comes up to the surface. And if you don't know that that's part of the process, and if you don't know that you can have support, like you can talk to people about it, then you get reactions like, I want to quit. And So knowing once again that's normal, finding support, talking about it, and then having the guidance. Like there are students of mine that will come and do sessions with me, energy work sessions or coaching sessions, to help them address some of the stuff that's coming up to the surface. Because again, we are giving tools that we can use to help us heal, but at the same time, we also are giving the opportunity to find the people, to get the skills, to get the trainings, to take the courses, to give us the skills to move forward, right? So it's almost, it's the two-step. All of us have some of the tools, but they also have to go and seek for the tools, get the tools through training, support, teaching, trainings, courses, coaches, etc.
Exactly. Wow, really, really inspiring, everything that you're mentioning, everything you're sharing. I'm impressed, really. Then we're going to end the interview soon, but I would like to know if there's something that's coming up, any events, any courses that you have going, people maybe would like to find you.
Yes. So I have an online studio called Sacred Movement Online Studio, Sacred Movement. And I have an app. You can find it in your Apple store or Google store or Android, whatever the stores are. But the thing with the online studio is I have about right now, and counting, 180 classes, and their yoga, Pilates, meditation, tutorials. And what I love about this studio is it's like you're getting a yoga teacher, Pilates teacher, a coach, and energy alchemist or energy healer all in one membership. Because my classes, the way I teach, I not only teach the poses, I teach physical and energetic alignment. I introduce positive psychology. I do energy work. So when you're taking these classes, you really see incredible results. And their classes are 5 minutes long to 60 minutes long. So that's one of the things, and the reason I created it is because students that are not local to me wanted to still be able to take my classes. And it's super affordable. You can go to Inner Beauty Yoga, so it's 3 words, innerbeautyyoga.com, to access those classes. I have classes every month. And then I have international retreats. And I have a few coming up for next year, but you can also go to my website, like my name, Adriana Kyser, and you'll see all those events in there as well. So I would love to have you guys join me. It's great for students that never practiced yoga before or are interested in yoga, students that have been practicing for a while, and even yoga teachers, because then they take inspirations for their own classes and take their time to practice as well. So it's great.
Amazing. Okay. And is there any advice or any last tips that you will give to the listeners?
Yes, doesn't matter if you are a yoga student, if you don't even know what yoga is, if you've been teaching yoga for a long, long time, many, many years, or anything in between. I invite you to really know what your why is, why you're doing what you're doing. What is your purpose? We are all here for a reason. We all have a meaning and purpose in life. We have gifts and talents that we're meant to share with the world, right? So why is it important to know your why? Because you're going to go through obstacles. We're all going to experience highs and lows. And in moments when things are going rough, when you don't know, you don't have all the answers, or things don't go the way you expected, or when you have obstacles, when you fail, and I say fail because I think there's no failure, there's just opportunities to try again. Your why is what's going to keep you going. There have been multiple times in my 16 years of teaching where I have wanted to quit, where I was like, I'm done, this is too much, whatever it is. And every time I tried to quit, there was a deeper calling, like a deeper, I don't know, I just couldn't. So, and in those moments, like, why are you teaching, Adri? Because of this, and this. And that's like, okay, let me keep going. So
always something calling you back, holding you there.
yes.
Amazing. Okay, thank you so much for your time and sharing your wisdom. It's been truly inspiring. Yes, thank you.
Thank you so much.
You listen to Your Yoga in English, Brought to you by Enga Unite, a unique online learning platform for non-native English-speaking yogis and yoga teachers. If you feel inspired and liked what you learned today, don't forget to subscribe, leave us a review, and follow us at Enga Unite and become a member of our online community, Your Yoga in English, on Facebook. Practice, rest, repeat, and all will come.